2 months, because we have got Karthik and then we had so many other devotees who had come to give their association. So, but now we go back to our bread and butter, which is the Gita, and today we are going to pick up from where we left off, and that is chapter number 2, text number 53. Okay, 253. Okay. Shruti Vipratipana Te Yada Stayasti Nischala Samadho Achala Buddhihi Tada Yogam Avapyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhi Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi Shruti Vipratipannate Yada Stasyati Nischala Samadho Vachala Buddhis Tada Yogam Avapsyasi. Okay. So word for word translation, Shruti of Vedic revelation, Vipratipana, without being influenced by the fruitive results. Te, your, yada, when, stasyati, remains, nischala, unmoved, samadho, in transcendental consciousness, or Krishna consciousness, achala, unflinching, buddhihi, intelligence, tada, at that time, yogam, self-realization, avapyasi, you will achieve. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Please repeat after me. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport: to say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna, and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shruti vipratipanate yada stashyati nischala samadha vachala buddhis tada yogam avapshasi. So this shlok and 253 is one of the final shlokas for the section of chapter 2, which is from 238 to 253. Okay, so from 238 to 253, Krishna has been talking about Buddhi Yoga, which means what? It means Nishkama Karma Yoga, or doing your work being detached to the fruits of your activities. Now, if you remember in the first chapter, Arjuna had one and many reasons why not to fight, and amongst all those reasons was one reason that I will incur sinful reactions. So, if I perform this ghastly action of engaging in war, then I will get a lot of sinful reactions. But now here Krishna is defeating that argument by telling Arjuna, actually, if you perform work in a detached manner without being attached to the fruitive results, you are not going to get any reaction, whether pious or impious or sinful. So you are thinking only of sinful, but I am here going to show you a way of not even incurring any reaction at all. Okay, so this is how he explains it. So in text number 11 to 30, Krishna gives Atma Gyan. From 31 to 37, he gives now knowledge of how to act in this world. And now from 38 to 53, he has merged the two. He has merged how to act in this world with the knowledge of yourself being the soul. When you act with the knowledge of your true constitutional position, you are not going to get any reaction in any of the activities you perform, because you are now going to act on the level of the soul. Okay? But what does that mean? That what does activities on the level of the soul means? Means first of all, you need to understand what is the soul. What is the connection of the soul to the Supreme? And then once you understand that, are you going to now perform activities in connection with that? And those are spiritual activities. They are not resulting in any material reactions. Okay? So in this section of 238 to 253, Krishna talks about a very, very important aspect, and that is of Vyasad Yatmika Buddhihi, and comparing it to the Vedic Karma Kand that we understand. So what is that Vyasayatmika Buddhi? It is one-pointed intelligence. So what does this mean? It means that one has only one desire. What is one-pointed intelligence or determination? It's to do only one thing. And what is that one thing that they want to do? Is that they want to become spiritual. They want to do spiritual activities. And this is what is the goal of the Vedas. Ultimately, the goal of the Vedas is to understand the source of the Vedas. And the source of the Vedas is Krishna himself. Now, compare this to the people who follow the Vedic understanding, but not very deeply. They are called Veda Rataha. That is coming a bit behind. So in that, they understand or they accept the Vedic version, but they don't understand the end goal of it. They don't understand the end goal. And they have got many branched intelligence. Why? Because they have unlimited desires. On one side, you have one person who has only got one desire, and that is a spiritual desire. While anyone else who doesn't have a spiritual desire will automatically have material desires. And material desires, by definition, are unlimited. So there are always many desires. These desires come into two forms. One is to enjoy material opulence, and because you are enjoying material opulence, it becomes a facility for you to gratify your senses. Okay? Now, what separates the two? What separates the two is that the unintelligent followers of the Vedas will utilize the Vedas to reach up to the mode of goodness and enjoy life in that mode. So it is still within the three modes of material nature, it's still within the material universe. But on the other side, the people with one point in intelligence, they aim to rise above the three modes. They aim to go beyond, they aim to transcend the three modes and go to the spiritual kingdom and enjoy with Krishna there by serving him. So this is the two main differences. Okay. So the way we get to do one pointed intelligence is through doing Buddhi Yoga. It is by utilizing our intelligence and connecting it with understanding who is the Supreme and how to connect with him. And then Krishna glorifies this type of yoga and says, what is the result of doing this? First of all, it stops all reactions to your work. Because all your reactions are stopped, this cycle of birth and death is stopped. Why is it stopped? Because now you have become indifferent to the Vedic Karma Kanda section. And that's because you've got fixed intelligence, and then you can fully focus on a spiritual goal, and that way you enter into trance. So in this way, the whole name of the game to get into fixed Krishna consciousness is to understand the difference between material life and spiritual life. From the Atma Gyan section, we have understood that the soul is spiritual in nature. It is completely different from the material world, the material constitution. And the material world is constituted by how many different energies of the Lord? How many different energies of the Lord constitute material creation? It will come ahead in chapter 7. There are 5 and 3. What are the 5 and 3?
Earth, fire, air, water, ether.
Yeah.
Mind, intelligence, and
Okay, so these 5 and 3 are 5 gross elements and 3 subtle elements. So the 5 gross elements are earth, air, water, fire, ether. And the 3 subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and false ego. Now what happens? At the time of death, what happens? Does anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me what happens at the time of death? Yes.
the gross elements return to where they were.
Yeah.
And the subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego, continues and gets another body.
Another body.
It could be material or spiritual.
Okay. So, what is the most subtle element?
False ego.
False ego. What is false ego?
That we are the body, not the soul.
So, the soul by nature is spiritual. It is pure. It understands that it is the servant of the Lord. So, what desire brings about this false ego?
What desire?
What desire brings about false ego? So, what is real ego?
That you are the servant of Krishna.
So, real ego basically means I am. That is true. You cannot remove I. I is your identity. So, what is a real identity? Is that I am spirit, soul, eternal servitor of the Lord. Now, if you change that, it says that I am not the servant of the Lord. That is what makes a person or a soul come under material nature. As soon as you desire to be away from your constitutional position as eternal servant of the Lord, you come under the grasp of Maya. And the first thing that enables this transition is the false ego. The false ego is what makes us understand or believe that okay, we are not the servitor, but rather we want to be the enjoyer and the controller. Okay, this first desire is what is called false ego. When you have this desire to become the enjoyer, yeah, and the master and the controller, automatically false ego takes over to give you now a material body, where you now start to identify with this material body and start to think that you are the enjoyer and you are the master of this material body. Yes, because that cannot be happen in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there is only one master, and that is Krishna, and everyone else is in their constitutional position, very happily situated in serving the Lord. And so we are all here because we all made that one contaminating mistake, that we want to become masters and enjoyers ourselves, and what facilitates that is false ego. Now, at the time of death, our gross body deteriorates, but our subtle body prevails. It takes the soul between one gross body to another gross body. So the subtle body of us, of our own subtle body, has been with us since time immemorial. Yes? So how much more contaminated would the subtle body be than our gross body? If you are having a subtle body since time immemorial, imagine how many impressions, how many desires, how strong this conditioning is, that this body is with us since time immemorial. Although this physical body will keep on disintegrating, and we get our physical body based on the state of the subtle body. Okay? So the whole name of the game is that we need to try to dissolve this false ego. That we have to try to dissolve. Then only can we get to the stage of becoming fixed in the trance of self-realization. Because self-realization means what? Self-realization literally means knowing, to realize who we are at our true core, and we understand that we are at a true core, a part and parcel of the Lord, and because we are that, because we are part and because we are parcel, we are meant to serve the whole, which is the Lord Himself. Yes, a part and parcel has got no existence in its own. If you take a machine is made out of many parts, but if that one part is not functioning according to its duty, then it's pointless. It's pointless. So understanding that we are part, we are meant to function in such a way that we serve the whole purpose. Okay. So that is what the entire thing is. This false ego is the most subtlest of coverings, and the Vedas are meant to gradually bring us up to this level of understanding this knowledge. Yes, the Vedas are so vast. We discussed why they are so vast, why there are so many contradictions, why are there so many, oh, this Puran says this, or that Puran says this, or this Veda says this, or that Veda says that. Why? It's because there is an entire spectrum of people of differing consciousnesses. Now, if you want to try to get everyone moving in the same direction, it's very difficult. So if each person is different, each person's intention is different, each person's motivation is different because of the different consciousness that they have carried. So the Vedic texts, they've understood this fact that people are not simply black and white. They are just so many shades of grey. There's so many shades of grey. So what works for one person doesn't work for another person. Now the example that is given is, there is a doctor. Now this doctor has got two different patients. Now one patient is a chain smoker. He will have like 6-7 packets of cigarette a day, and another one is just a casual smoker. Now the same doctor tells the chain smoker, okay, you're smoking 5 to 6, come down to 5, or at least 4, come down to 4 a day. And the one who is just casually smoking, he tells that person, okay, quit smoking. So now if the casual smoker goes to the doctor and sees that, oh, this doctor has told this person to smoke 4 packets of cigarette a day, and he's told me to not smoke at all, he'll think that this doctor is useless. He is very biased. He is making me stop having cigarette, but this person is encouraging having 4 packets of cigarettes. So is that the right way to look at it? What is the right way to look at it? Is that the doctor has got the one aim to make them both come eventually to 0. But for a person who is just a casual smoker, it's easier for him to quit it up than is it for a person who is a chain smoker. So the aim is the same, to reduce the amount of smoking. But for a casual smoker, he can easily tell him to stop smoking. But for a chain smoker, it's not so easy. But to guide him to the same direction, he gives him some concession. That okay, if you are so addicted, continue, but continue a bit less, and then a bit less, and then a bit less, and then a bit less. But ultimately, what is the goal of that doctor? It's the same. It's the same. So now this is what we do. That some people are chain smokers and some people are casual smokers, and both of them go to the Vedas, and they say that, oh, the Vedas are recommending this person, or is recommending a path of coming to 4, and another path saying to give it up. So, oh, it's a contradiction, so give it up. Not understanding that the Vedas are meant at different levels of consciousness. Okay? As we discussed, over 90% of the Vedas deal with the subject of the 3 modes of material nature, because the Vedas are the merciful expansion of the Lord to get people to understand the reality of the world and to lift them up gradually, to lift them up. Now if one person is in the darkest region of ignorance and another person is in the mode of goodness, they are not going to approach the Vedas in the same way. So for a person who is in very much material consciousness, they needed to be given some sort of incentive. Yeah, just like you have got 2 children. One child is very playful and another one is very serious. For the child who is serious, you just have to tell the child, you need to study harder, and he will understand because he is serious. But a child who is very playful, you have to go around an indirect way. You say that, oh, if you study, then I will let you play some more. So you have to incentivize them to do the right thing. But what do we end up doing is that we try to just focus on the incentives, not understanding what is the purpose behind the incentives. Okay? So this whole journey of spirituality is the journey of of dissolving our false ego. At the current moment, our false ego consciousness is very strong. Material consciousness is very strong. And completely opposite to this is Krishna consciousness. Now Krishna consciousness can be understood to be as the humble servant consciousness. There you are taking the humble position of being a menial servant, which is what is our true constitution. Our true constitution is to be the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. That is our true position. But right now we are on a completely different way. So the whole process of spirituality is dissolving the false ego, because until we get to that level of dissolving the false ego and transforming it into real ego, till that point we are not going to be liberated. Till that point we are not going to transcend this material world. Till that point we are not going to go back to Godhead. Okay? So this transformation of the heart is a very, 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 very deep thing. It's not a very cheap thing. That okay, I've started coming to the temple, I'm doing a bit of rounds, I'm taking tilak, I'm doing everything. That is cheating. If you just, how much can you do? If there's no internal work, if there's no internal work in removing and dissolving the false ego, all the spirituality is for show. It is completely for show. It will not, you can cheat everyone else, but you cannot cheat Krishna. He is sitting within your heart. He understands how much work you're putting in dissolving the false ego, in trying to reactivate or to rediscover your true ego. Yes? And it's a very, very, very subtle thing. It's so subtle that it will come through the smallest of corners, smallest of openings. It will find its way. It will find its way. Even though we might be in spirituality, yeah, and then we go and we can have ego clashes with other devotees. What is that? That is the false ego bringing its head into this. Like that, there's so many examples. Like sometimes you might be tasked with translating class. You'll be like, I mean, what menial service is that? But that is what is needed. It's actually a great service to be able to translate a class for somebody else, to be able to give them that knowledge as well. So sometimes we think it's a very menial service, but actually it is not. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, especially if you are a kirtan leader, and then you're not given a slot to sing, and then your mind goes like, oh my God, why am I not being asked to sing? Why am I not being honored? That is what the false ego wants. The false ego wants gratification. It expects recognition. And with that, what do we want to do? We want to enjoy being the master. We want to enjoy that ego satisfaction that, oh yes, I matter. Yeah? That is why I remember when I was in the UK, and I had gone to one of the youth. It's called a Sena Getaway. So it was like a youth retreat, and we went to Germany. And do you know what the first thing that made us do? The first service they made us do was clean the toilets. They made us clean the toilets. And I caught myself thinking, well, wait, what? What do I have to do here? I have to clean toilets? And not only ours, because we were 7 people in a room, and like that there were around 12 rooms. So there were so many people, and there was like a communal toilet. And each day we were there for 7 days, and because there were 7 rooms, there were 7 people in a room. So each room gets to clean the toilet on one single day. On the first day it was our turn. To do it. And I remember there was a guy next to me, and he just got on with it. He's like, this is wonderful. The first day we're getting some very nice service. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And then he explained to me that I don't look at this as cleaning the toilet. I look at this as cleaning my own heart. That our heart is so full, it's even more dirty than this toilet. And so if by cleaning this toilet, at least we can purify our hearts a bit. We can become more humble, more meek. So doing these small services, you could understand how deep certain people's understanding and consciousness is. And it blows you away, because you're like, okay, this is what spirituality is meant to do. It's meant to make you more and more and more of a humble servant. Then only will you be able to get rid of this most subtle covering that is strapping us in this material atmosphere. That is the only thing. Spirituality, Prabhupada ji has advertised it as being a very, very easy and joyful process. but in fact it is the most difficult, because it requires real transformation of the heart. It requires an open heart surgery where all these anarthas are supposed to be removed. And for that, who do we pray to? We pray to this personality at least twice a day. Who do we pray to remove these anarthas in our subtle body? Does anyone know?
I thought it would be Lord Narasimha.
Yes. So we are supposed to pray to Lord Narasimhadev to perform open heart surgery to remove all the Hiranyakashipus in our heart in terms of all these anarthas like lust, greed, envy. All of these are the babies of false ego. These are all the babies of false ego. So if you can remove this false ego, that is your success in spiritual life. Now, to cultivate this humble servant attitude or consciousness, to cultivate it, it is of utmost importance to have a guru, and to have a living guru at that. Having a non-living guru is not going to cut it for you. Why? It's because who is there to hold you accountable? When a person is full of material desires, his judgment is clouded. False ego is controlling him. So if false ego is controlling him, how are you able to check your own false ego? You cannot. So many lifetimes, countless number of lifetimes, since time immemorial, we have been under the control of this false ego. Do you think in one lifetime you can get rid of it? No. The only person that can help us get rid of this false ego is a true well-wisher, a person who is only concerned about our spiritual growth, and that person is Guru. So you might say, oh, why do we need the Guru? We can just read Shastra. The scriptures are there. The scriptures can teach us everything. But now the thing is, have you seen a tube light? A tube light which has got a colored glass. What type of light comes out? The color of the glass. So the same thing applies to scriptures. The knowledge is there, yes, but you are now looking at the scriptures through a contaminated consciousness. So this knowledge, you might read it, but you not understand it, because now you are looking at it through a colored or contaminated consciousness, through a material consciousness. That is why you need to understand scripture under guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And a bona fide spiritual master is one who is already situated in the transcendental platform. He is beyond the three modes of material nature. He is a person whose false ego has been dissolved because he has got his own false ego dissolved by another bona fide guru. You see now the reason why we need to have a bona fide guru? It's because without a bona fide guru, we cannot even dare hope to reach that level of dissolving our own false ego. We need to have that accountability. That is why guru means also heavy. A guru is very heavy towards us because he can detect how much work needs to be done internally. And so the guru hardly praises. It's always criticism. And if a person is not able to bear that criticism and understand that, okay, I need to take the humble position of submitting myself to him. Yes, he is right. Even sometimes, what happens is a guru will reprimand you, and the first thing happens is, no, Gurudev, this is not how it was. You don't know all the facts. Then this was like this, this was like this, this was like this. What is that happening? Your ego is fighting back. Your ego is trying to justify itself that it is right and everyone else is wrong. But that is immaturity. The more humble position is, this is actually Krishna's opportunities. He is giving us so many opportunities during the day to be able to dissolve the false ego. But what do we do instead? Is we just befriend it and strengthen and defend it. We defend the false ego. And Krishna gives us so many opportunities in a day to get rid and dissolve the false ego. Married life is a prime example. Married life is a battlefield of egos. Oh, the husband said this, the wife said this, the husband said this, the wife said this, the husband said this, the wife said this. And what happens is just a clash of egos. But actually, true married life is meant to be a very purifying, it's a purifying ashram where you learn to tolerate and humble yourself. Yeah, just like, let's like take two rocks, keep on friction. At the end of it, of course, when there's friction, there's sparks. Yes, but also what happens is that now the edges of the rock also smoothen. They also smoothen out. So this is what married life is for. Married life is our life to become more humble, to become more of a servant, not as an ego battle. That is not what married life is for. In spiritual culture, our actual old and ancient Indian culture was a very spiritual culture. It was very practical for achieving spiritual goal of life. Right now we are in the day of time where material consciousness and material culture is so prevalent that spiritual culture is completely gone. Now if you tell somebody, oh, you should be tolerant, that is seen as a sign of weakness. It's seen as a weakness. A person who is tolerant is considered to be very weak. Naturally, that is the thinking of this day and age. But actually, being tolerant is one of the greatest strengths. To be able to be tolerant is a spiritual culture strength. Yes, they say sometimes you won the battle but lost the war. This is what happens. Every time you defend and you massage the false ego, you may be winning battles, but you're losing the war. And what is the war? That you're going to take one more birth in this material world. One more birth, until you understand how to dissolve the false ego. It's a very, very big topic, and it's so important that devotees usually don't pay too much attention to this, but it is the most important topic to pay attention to, because without doing the internal work under the guidance of Guru to transform and dissolve the false ego, till that time we will never experience true spiritual progress. We might go on 20, 30, 40 years of chanting Hare Krishna, dancing, everything, but if there is no internal work, it's all for show. It is all for show. There is no true spiritual progress in that sense. And that is why you need to have achala buddhi, and you need to have, it has to be nischala. This is what it means to have one-pointed determination. One-pointed determination is to dedicate yourself in doing the internal work to dissolve the false ego, and at the same time, simultaneously, is to cry out to Krishna, to make him one, to cry out in helplessness that Krishna, I cannot do this on my own. I need your help. I need your help. And what does Krishna do? He sends that help. He sends that help in the form of a guru. That is why Prabhupada writes in the last line here, that one has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. Krishna and Prabhupada has made it very clear that the only path to success is by following the orders of the spiritual master. that is how you're going to be able to sustain your internal work, because there's somebody else who you're practicing bringing out this humble nature, this humble servant consciousness, this humble servant attitude is first being practiced on the Guru. First you practice here, then only will you be able to realize that and practice it with Krishna. And not only Krishna, but to the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna, which is the Guru only. Yeah? So this is how we dissolve our false ego in service to Guru and Krishna. That is why Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Shastra has to be understood under the guidance of Sadhu and Guru. Then only will you get a clear-cut understanding of Shastra. Otherwise you are going to have a contaminated understanding of Shastra, because you are full of false ego. Because false ego is dominant, you have got so many material desires, so many material aspirations, and you're looking at it from a sense of enjoying and being a master, and that spoils the entire thing. Okay? So this is what Krishna is trying to tell to Arjuna, that if you are able to remain fixed and not fall into the trap of the fruits of the Vedas, because the fruits of the Vedas are only going to make you still stay within the three modes, because they are only promising heavenly pleasures. But pleasures for who? For me. For me. So that is reinforcing what consciousness? That is reinforcing the consciousness that I am enjoyer, that I am the master, and that is keeping us shackled in this material world. So that is why we must be very, very nischala or achala buddhi. Our intelligence has to be very strongly situated, understanding the fact what is the end goal of the Vedas. It is said in the 15th chapter, text number 15, Vedescha sarve aham eva vedya, Vedanta krid aham eva vedya. So I am the compiler of the Vedas, and I am the knower of the Vedas, and I am the goal of the Vedas. Krishna is saying that I am supposed to be the end goal of all your study of the Vedas. If you don't reach me, it's all useless. It is all useless labor. Okay? Anyone has got any questions? Any comments? Okay. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Krishna.